As Nigeria marks her 64th independence, majority of Nigerians cannot afford functional houses. Now, 80% of Nigerians are still crawling out of slums in the 21st century. To the rising cost of unemployment and general insecurity result in mass atrocities and uprooting of people from their localities. Government initiatives on housing have not been really helpful. It can be recalled that housing was an appendix of the Federal Ministry of Works after prolonged talk about housing deficit. It was made a standalone ministry by President Bola Tinubu. The question is, after 64 years of independence, what's new in Nigerian's housing sector? Speaking on Nigeria at 64 and the housing sector, I have an expert in the built environment. She is the current chair, library and publication of the Nigerian Institute of Architects, Abuja Chapter. She's a licensed architect of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a chartered architect with the Royal Institute of British Architects, a member of the Board of Architectural Education of the Nigerian Institute of Architects, and a research staff of the Nigerian Building and Road Research Institute, in person of architect Zulaiha Babagirei-Ahmed. You're highly welcome.
Thank you.
In short, I'm excited reading all of your qualifications, and we're really going to have a very good conversation today. So today on Inside the Real Estate, we'll be looking at Nigerian's housing sector. What can you say about the Nigerian housing sector?
Well, thank you so much, Maimuna, and thank you for the wonderful introduction.
You're welcome.
The Nigerian housing sector, anywhere you go, you see houses. That's the truth. You go out, you see houses, but it depends on who owns them, and it depends on what the houses are made for. You know, the scape of Abuja City, for example, is still underway. You can see that construction is still ongoing. Everywhere you go, there's one construction or the other. So there are houses, or there are buildings. There are construction is ongoing. The question is, who is it for? The question again is it actually for every single Nigerian? I believe we'll discuss more.
Of course, yes, we're going to do that. Thank you so much, Architect Zulaiha. So, as at 6 years ago, Nigerians' building deficit was out of between 17 to 20 million. Now, what would you say has changed between then and now?
Remember, the World Bank had actually stipulated in 2021 that the Nigerian housing sector has a deficit of 15.56. This was made in one of their white paper presentations. But as of 2023, the Nigerian government, the State House, published a report that stated that the Nigerian housing deficit was around 28 million. Now, we're supposed to be reducing. The number is supposed to reduce, but as it is increasing. It means something is not done right. It means, either we're increasing in population, and because of that, the increase in the housing deficit is increasing, or there's something that is not done right. Yeah.
Okay. Can you highlight, in your own opinion, some of those things that are not being done right in the housing sector, that is still limiting the growth in this country?
Okay, so I would have loved for us to discuss the key components of what provisions the Nigerian government, has in place for the housing sector. So, for example, I am pretty sure you're aware of the Renewed Hope Agenda.
Of course, yes.
Which the government of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has launched all over the country. And, initially there was one done by the last dispensation, which, they had a target of, I think, around 20 to 50,000 houses. But unfortunately, I believe what they've been able to do is not close to what their target was. This was saddled with financing, issues of financing, issues of access to, these houses that were provided or were supposed to be provided by the government. So I think policies need to really, really be enforced, as well as the rollouts for possible housing for Nigerians, the willpower to ensure that this housing deficit is being looked into, as well as supported and effectively delivered, to ensure that Nigerians have what they required. Housing is a basic need. Mm-hmm. If you really want someone to perform essentially or effectively, that person needs to know that the person has shelter. It is one of the basic needs of the human, existence.
Indeed.
So, yeah.
Indeed. Now, analyzing Tinubu's administration with the creation of the Renewed Hope Cities mass housing policy, which is a very great initiative. I think in Abuja here we have over 3,115 housing units, in Karsana and other states springing up, which of course if all of these will be achieved at the end of the day, then I think maybe we're going to have a reduced housing deficit. Now let's look at the access to affordable housing in Nigeria, the low-income earners, which is one of the primary aim of this administration, trying to reach their needs and see that they have a better life and environment to live in. Now, do you really think that those houses are affordable? Have you gone through the ministry's portal? Okay, so for the housing Renewed Hope agenda, the mandate is to deliver 100,000 housing units all over the country, right? And this has been kick-started. There are houses, a project or housing projects all over Nigeria. It is intended that in all the 6 geopolitical zones, in cities in 6 geopolitical zones, 1,000 housing units should be at the end of a certain quarter or certain term. So, like you mentioned, one was launched here at Karsana, even though part of the question is the affordability of those houses. Now, the reason for that is the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, the current minister, Architect Ngiwa, had mentioned that the reason why the cost there is high is because of the public-private partnership, and it is being developed by a private individual. So obviously those houses would be very high. However, because they have a target of 20,000 housing units for Abuja alone, they also have their own housing units that will be very affordable for the masses or for the low income to medium income earners. So it is our hope that while they're at this, they would use all the necessary facilities to ensure that those houses are very, very affordable to the low and medium income earners. Okay, so far so good. Can you say that with this initiative, how has the pace been? Is it really, at let's say the middle stage where people can quickly assess this houses?
Yes. So well, the thing is, it's just 1 year into their term, and as you can see, they've launched this initiative all over the states. Of course, with the Federal Capital Territory inclusive. We're hoping that with this pace that they had already started with, by the end of 2-3 years, it should double. So if it is doubling, it means that we're getting somewhere, and it means that we're hoping, or we're hopeful, that they would be able to achieve that 100,000 units that they intend to. Now, if they do that, that would open up a lot of things. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
The United States, this housing issue, I want to state, is not just in Nigeria alone. You know, most cities, you know, because of urban renewal and what have you, migration, are experiencing the lack of housing. But what is happening is the willpower in some of these countries to ensure that these houses are being delivered and necessary facilities are, you know, are available for the low and medium income earners. So the government, from what we're seeing, looks like it's interested in this delivery, and it also looks like the government is trying to put all measures in place to ensure that, you know, houses are made available to the low and income earners. So we're hopeful. It is just starting. We wouldn't want to preempt, but we're hopeful.
Thank you so much, Architect Zulaiha. We also have a lot to talk about financing, which is, you know, one of the major factor to access for affordable housing. But we're going to go on a quick break, and then when we'll come back, we'll start off with that. So, viewer, let's go on a quick break. We'll be back shortly. Stick around.
Visit Housing TV Africa on YouTube and click on the subscribe button. Subscribe to Housing TV Africa to stay updated on latest happenings in Nigeria's housing sector. Follow our social media pages, like and share our posts on Facebook, Housing TV Africa, on Twitter, Housing TV Africa, Instagram, Housing TV Africa. Join the conversation and keep up with latest housing updates.
Welcome back to the program. This is Inside the Real Estate and Housing TV Africa. If you're just joining us, we're having a conversation on real estate evolution, Nigerian's housing sector 6 to 4 years after independence. Still in the studio with my guest, Architect Zulaiha, and now let's look at affordable as a word. Okay, yes, I love that smile. Let's look at affordable as a word. Okay, you know, when you say affordable, it means that you know, people that don't even have maybe good jobs can be able to afford certain things. And then when you're attaching affordable to housing, it means that, of course, these houses are there so everybody can have access to it because it's affordable. But we all know that presently now, affordable is becoming the unaffordable. So now let's look at financing in the housing sector. Yeah, we have the mortgage system there. We have government-owned mortgage institutes. We also have the private ones. But then one of the biggest issues we're facing presently now is the interest rate. Very, very huge. You know, people are beginning to ask questions. Is it that I'm going to work all the days of my life and, you know, keep paying mortgage till, you know, a certain time in your life? So how can housing be made more affordable and accessible beyond government's intervention?
Okay, Memuna, you see, right, affordable is relative.
I hear that all the time.
Yes, affordable is relative. And when I say it is relative, it depends on what you consider. Sustainable building at the inception is very, can be very costly. But of course, with over time, you realize that a lot of things that you had considered right from the construction or during construction, you don't tend to, so the maintenance is reduced, right? So that is one of the key things that we all have to look into. Now, going back to your question, you see, there are a lot of things that the government needs to do. First and foremost, you and I are not, so I am an architect, of course. If I get the land and the land is being gotten at a very affordable rate, it means that I'll be able to build whatever construction materials that I'm going to use. I look at the local construction materials that we have, which are available and are very effective and efficient, and I utilize them. Of course, the costs will be very, very low.
Sure.
Now, access to land is something that is very, very scarce, especially in Nigeria, you know. So, and it's very costly, because if you want to build in Abuja, for example, You know, the land alone, it's a very, very expensive, you know, property. Allocations don't come in as it should, right? Some of the things that, so for housing estates, for example, government should look into, you know, providing these lands at a very, you know, less than nothing for these developers. This will drastically reduce the cost of what they're going to, you know, put or transfer to their, you know, landowners, or sorry, housing owners, right? And then they also need to consider tax incentives. Now, these tax incentives that I'm talking about is, so if you're a developer and you're developing 1,000 housing units, some things should be taken out for you in terms of payment of tax, you know, based on your company or whatever. You know, that would help to also make you, you know, reduce infrastructure. If the government provides infrastructure for these houses, so access to the lands that we're talking about, right, where it can be at the satellite towns around Abuja. Just give you an example. So we're using Abuja as an example. It could be around the satellite towns of Abuja. You create infrastructure, basic infrastructure for this, you know, lands, or for these developers. It will reduce the cost of housing. You know, funding for these land developers, you know, make it available and make it at a single digit, just like we mentioned. Now, another thing is, you know, Abuja is vast. It has a land mass and what have you. So let's talk about Lagos, where, you know, land is not readily available. We go high rise, right? So if you build and you go high rise, you provide, the government provides, and then we go, you know, multi-story. So these multi-story buildings are also ways to ensure that you don't have to own a land per se, but of course it's the same land, but you're going vertical. So if you're going vertical, you know, there's a lot of things that are going to be reduced in terms of square area and what have you, right? So these are ways that we should look into to ensure that, you know, these buildings or these houses are affordable and are, you know, readily available for the low and medium income earners.
Indeed. I love the part where you spoke about incentives. So you're really cheering for, you know, improved incentives to complement the availability of affordable housing for Nigerians. So now a major value chain in the industry is job creation. So for every sector, there should be room and opportunity to create jobs for the unemployed people. So what is your forecast on this in relation to the current inflationary trend in Nigeria?
You know, one thing we're missing, to be honest with you, is one of the most effective way of creating jobs is through construction. So I'll give you an example. If you go to a functioning construction site, you see more than 50 workers on site, right? It means that these 50 workers have been employed one way or the other. And masons, so you have artisans, you have masons, so artisans and masons, you have the foreman, you have all manners of, you know, within the site. Don't forget, even the roadside seller, so directly and indirectly. Now, let me give you a hint. Based on the 100,000 units that the Renewed Hope targeted, or the Renewed Hope is targeting, is that it will provide directly and indirectly more than 1.2 million jobs for Nigerians, or for the unemployed. So if that is happening, it means that for just 100,000, and we have a housing deficit of, you know, over 10 million. So what do you think would happen if we have functioning sites, if all these things that we've discussed right from the beginning, so in terms of the incentives, in terms of subsidized loans, in terms of use of affordable materials, the modular construction and what have you that we had discussed initially, so mode of construction and what have you. If we put all this into perspective and we have readily available developers, right, or readily available, you know, construction professionals, don't you think we're going to provide a lot of jobs for more than just 100,000 units. Remember, are giving us over 1.2 million people with jobs. What will happen if we have 1 million? Do the math. Do the math. So it means that it is a very, very lucrative way of getting people to be employed, getting people to be active, and it will take away a lot of people from the streets, right? Another thing that we need to also consider is our technical schools, because globally, right, artisans or trades, the skilled people are being, I wouldn't say eased or phased out, but they're reducing, right? And the reason why they're reducing is because people are thinking modern, people are thinking technology, people are thinking other things, but we're forgetting that we also need craftsmen to help construct, right? So if we don't improve our technical schools, we won't be churning out artisans, right? We won't be churning out a considerable number of artisans. So if we have that and we have them come out, I can tell you for a fact they will be employed, because there has to be one construction or the other, especially those coming in with new ideas, right? So they would be employed and they would have something to do. It would really, really improve our unemployment. That I can tell you.
The conversation has really been, a very insightful and engaging one with architect Zulaiha. Before I let you go, what are your expectations for Mr. President and also for the housing sector moving forward? Because Nigeria is growing and we need to develop, we need to do things differently. So please, kindly share your thoughts on that.
Yes, so thank you so much, Mimuna. It's actually been a very interesting talk. I haven't spoken about housing in a very long time. But one thing I can say for a fact is, the government has to have the willpower. The government has to. It is very important that they look deeply into providing shelter, because it translates into so many things. It translates into having people come to work happy because they have somewhere to go back to put their heads on. It translates to productivity. So many things. Providing housing is very, very essential. If the government really, really wants to do that, it needs to have the willpower. I can see there is the push, and I am hoping this push continues. When you start something, it's always good that you continue at that trajectory. We're lucky to have a minister who was initially at the Federal Mortgage Bank, and he has shown that he's really, really geared towards providing housing for Nigerians. With this launch, I am very, very hopeful that at the end of the day, we would be able to see change. We will be able to see improvement in the housing sector. But one of the key things I am hoping again that the government will provide is land. Provide lands to people that are actually intending to develop for mass housing, especially. Lands should be readily available. It shouldn't even be, it should be a no-brainer. When I come to the necessary authorities or ministries that, offer or provide lands, especially when I'm doing housing, it should be given to me, right? So these are part of the things that I believe, if it is readily available, to be frank with you, we would reduce, if not eliminate, the housing menace in Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Architect Zulaiha, for coming on the program Inside the Real Estate. It was a delight having you today, and we're still going to drag you here. So yes, I know it's been a while you spoke about housing, but we still need more of your, more of your intellect, your ideas, and you're going to give it to us. I will. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
So on this note, we call it a wrap on Inside the Real Estate and Housing TV Africa. Thank you so much for watching. You can watch this episode and subsequent episodes by subscribing to Housing TV Africa on YouTube. Follow Housing TV Africa on all social media platforms. Do not forget to download the Housing TV mobile app on Google Play Store and Apple App Store. Happy Independence, Nigeria. God bless Nigeria. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.